Well, the main economic and political factors are really that there's a big need for power production in the Asia-Pacific region. The governments are developing their regulation set. There are guaranteed feed-in tariffs which are necessary to get financing for projects, and there's grid connection possibilities that are being developed.
A lot of people are asking what enables biomass to power to spread and develop in a particular country. It is very important to understand that it starts with one very important first step: government incentive. It needs to be pushed by the government to, in fact, motivate project developers to start to investigate biomass. Of course, it is important that there's fuel, but when we look at Asia-Pacific region today, it is more than 30% of the global biomass supply in the world.
I think this is determined by also the industry where one developer likes to start. For example, mining. Mining currently is relying on a lot of power generation from heavy fuel oil. It's very expensive and only goes up in price. So when a mining corporation in Southeast Asia is able to use the local resources, it can definitely reduce its cost and still generate the same amount of electricity. So
best locations are really in Thailand and Philippines.
Actually Thailand and Philippines.
Thailand and Philippines.
Because they have all the framework conditions in place with the feed-in tariffs, political support, grid connection.
They have been basically promoting their biomass production and biomass power generation for about many years, whereas Malaysia and Indonesia do have the biomass available, but the government incentives are not in place yet.
Thailand have developed since I think about 10 years now a very specific program called the VSPP program that enable project developers to have easy access to license for 10 megawatt electrical plants. Philippines on the other side just released their new feed-in tariff, which is very high in fact for the region, more than 16 US cents per kilowatt hour, which will enable biomass to be massively developed in the Philippines. Philippines being an island country, it's also very important for them to have a local power.
Well, challenges for the project developers are usually to secure the fuel supply. In the Asia-Pacific region, the waste from biomass is mostly owned by very small organizations and farmers. So our clients have to secure the fuel supply from cooperatives, for example.
Our plant sizes are between 10 and 40 megawatts, and you can imagine that with 40 megawatts you need a tremendous amount of fuel. So getting all the logistics in place to make sure the fuel arrives at the plant on time, as scheduled, in the right quality.
Which means that the risk of fuel availability, of fuel price, is very high.
We support our clients in supplying plants which are multi-fuel capable, so they are not depending on only one kind of fuel. They can use different fuel supply sources.
In Southeast Asia, you see a lot of small-scale power plants based on low-end technology. I would say medium temperature, medium pressure. CleanTech brings something else to the market, a level further, the next generation. High efficiency, high pressure, high temperature. It's something that can put your boiler up to 91% of efficiency.
So obviously in a country like Thailand, biomass has spread, which means that we found mitigation against this problem. And you can say that organizing the rural life is very important, working with collaborative, creating a sustainable farming program, dealing with energy crop, for example, or interesting the local community in the profit of the power plant. All are mitigation that has been put in place.
We should work as like a partner and friends, and we should understand what is their needs, Every country they have their culture, and the way to start the project is different. If you work with the government, their knowledge is not enough. You have to work as a friend and introduce and support them.
We help in the early political framework preparation process and presenting the technical performance to governments and the low emissions, also to convince the local governors.
CleanTech can actually provide the solution at a good price with manufacturing facilities in Asia already, but still using the engineering technology from Europe.
Asia Pacific in biomass is the future, and I'm going to tell you why. Because, as mentioned, when you look at the gigawatts that are produced every year, or the country that are exactly using biomass, is in fact very limited. Only Thailand have 10 years history in using biomass. Philippines is just jumping in. But when Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Myanmar are going to jump into Southeast Asia, it is going to be massive. All those Pacific islands will need power, and biomass is the best power for that, because it's local and it's base load and it's renewable. And one day, maybe not today, because of course you need time to put this policy framework in place, but one day those islands will also develop into biomass. And this is why Asia Pacific is the key for the biomass industry today.